Do you ever have one of those months when you feel like you've made nothing? Well, that's what I thought July was, but actually I've made quite a few things and I'm really looking forward to sharing them with you in today's video. Hi, I'm Amelia and welcome to this week's video. This is my channel Sew Amelia, where I talk all about making a handmade wardrobe for me and my children. Welcome to today's video, where I'm going to share all of the things that I made in July. So we've had a lovely start to our summer holidays. It's busy with 3 children at home now, but we're having a really lovely time. We went to the pool this morning and had a lovely swim. We've just joined our local pool this season because it has been so hot here, and it's just been lovely to get out in the morning and have a nice swim to start off the day. So everyone is now having a lovely quiet rest because we're all exhausted from our morning of swimming and splashing about. And I thought I would pop on here briefly and just share what I've been making in July. So, seeing as we're talking about the swimming pool, I thought I would start by showing you my Coralie swimsuit. Now, I didn't wear this morning because I knew I wanted to share it with you in today's video. So I did wear my sandpiper swimsuit that I made last summer, which is another fantastic pattern by Helen's Closet. But this one has been worn in the sea, it has been worn in the swimming pool, and so far it is holding up really well, and I'm thrilled with it. And here it is. Now, I did make a sew along for this swimsuit, so if you're thinking of dipping your toes into the world of swimsuit sewing, go and check out that video. Or if you're thinking of making the Coralie, I hope that there will be some helpful tips and tricks in that video for sewing with swimwear fabric. I'm still relatively new to it myself, but I have learned some things along the way that I wanted to share with you. So the Coralie swimsuit, I made the version with the ruffle around the front and the back, and you can see from this that I made a lovely deep back. It's not too deep, you can see there's still really nice coverage over the bottom, and in fact I really like this swimsuit because there is good full coverage over the bottom. Now, there are instructions for how to add a shelf bra on the inside, which I did. There are also instructions about how to add cups. Now, I didn't do that because I just don't need that much support, and this swimsuit comes up high enough on me that it gives me the coverage that I need to mess about in the sea and at the pool with my children. But there are instructions for that in the pattern, which is brilliant. In my plans video, I asked for advice about whether to put on the frill over the leg, and it was so great. Thank you so much to all of you who gave me such great advice on that. I left them off in the end, and I'm really pleased that I did. But I did use a contrast swimwear fabric for this ruffle. Now, this came from Sew Me Sunshine, and it's their Eco Nile swimwear fabric. And Harriet actually has filmed a video recently about their sustainable fabrics, and it's so interesting. So if you haven't popped over to their channel, do go and have a look at that video where she talks all about Eco Nile and its sustainable properties. And then I used, for the main swimwear fabric, I used this gorgeous print from Fabric Godmother, which has ladies on their linos. I wish I looked this relaxed swimming with 3 children, but alas, I do not. So yes, that is my Coralie swimsuit. Now, when I made it, I graded from a 4 across the bust and the waist, which is my Tilly size, and then I'm actually a Tilly size 5 across the hips. I'm about 41 inches across my hips. But with swimsuits, I always prefer to have a little bit more ease over my hips so it's not too tight over that area. So I actually sized up to a size 6, which is a hip of 43 inches. Now, because of the slight negative ease in a swimsuit, that fits perfectly. I'm really happy with the fit. So what I did is I cut a size 4. There are notches on the pattern, which is helpful. 4 at the bust, 4 at the waist, and then I simply graded out to the size 6 at the hip notch, and then used the size 6 for the bottom. So I'm really pleased with that swimsuit. I now have my sandpiper swimsuit from last season and my Coralie swimsuit for this season. But if I didn't have those 2, I would be making another one because I just love this one so much. It was such a joy to sew, and I cannot tell you how delightful it is to wear a swimsuit that fits over my bust and my waist and my hips. I don't think I ever have found a ready-to-wear one that fits. And although the process of sewing your own can be slightly daunting, it's so nice to have one that fits. So if you watched my recent video about my dress dramas that I was having, making a lovely dress for the new craft house, which I will share later on in the video, you will have seen that I made 2 atlas tops by Stitch Witch patterns. So I won't go into too much detail here, but I'll leave that video linked in the description box below so you can pop over and have a look at that one if you want more detail about these patterns. Now, the atlas top is a gorgeous crossed back, cropped or a long length top. It comes in 2 lengths cropped, actually sort of sits just below my belly button at sort of my high hip, which is perfect for wearing over high-waisted jeans and skirts without showing any flesh. And the longer version sits more towards your low hip, so if that's what you prefer, there is a version that sits slightly lower than these two that I made. Now, I had some remnants left, particularly from this gorgeous Lady McElroy cotton lawn, and I'll show you what I made with that a bit later on in this video. I had remnants left over from this that I was desperate to use. It's too pretty of a fabric to just sit in my scrap bin, and so by piecing it carefully together I managed to cut the fronts of the atlas top, and then I pieced together the lining for these straps at the back, and I used a cotton twill scrap that I had left over from my Brumby skirt for the back, and actually it makes such a cute set, the atlas top with this back with my Brumby skirt in the same fabric. It looks like it was made to go together, which it kind of was. So I adore this top. It has been worn so much already, particularly at the beach running around with my children. It's a really lovely practical top, and in fact the second version I made, which is seriously, it always happens when you start to film, always. So this second version that I made in a linen that I had left over from the lovely Susie at Thread Quarters, and some scraps from my Sew Hayley Jane cotton poplin, I have worn this to the beach. We went on a little holiday last week, and I just kept throwing this one on over my swimsuit, over a skirt, or some little cut-off jeans that I hacked from a pair I wasn't wearing, and it was perfect. It goes on so quickly and easily, and it was just the perfect sort of beach outfit. So those were my 2 atlas tops by Stitch Witch patterns. For those, the pattern suggests you can get one out of 1 meter of fabric as long as it's 60 inches wide, which is great. So if you've got 1 meter or slightly less of fabric in your remnants bin, you can definitely get one of these out, as long as you don't mind using a contrast lining. Now, I'm sure that if you played around with this pattern, you could make it reversible. I haven't done that yet, but it's certainly something that I would like to try perhaps next summer with some other remnants that I have left over from this summer's sewing. Now in the end I made a size 12. Now my bust is 36 inches, my waist is 30 inches, and my hips are 41 inches, and the sizing for the 12 is a bust of 36.5 inches, a waist of 29.5 inches, and then hips of 38.5 inches. So the waist and hips are definitely smaller than my measurements. But the finished measurements talk about the bust measurement being the most important because of those cross straps at the back. There is quite a bit more ease over the waist, and because it was a cropped top, I wasn't so concerned about the hip. Now I have to say it is perfect. I really like the fit across the bust. There's about 1 inch of ease in those finished measurements, which is perfect, and then it just sits really nicely over my waist and hip, so I'm really pleased I went with the size 12. The next pattern I made was also a bit of a scrap buster. I saw this remnant at Sew Me Sunshine. It was about 0.6 of a meter, and I thought, do you know what, I'm sure I can get something out of that. And so I bought it, and about the same time, the lovely Maureen from Process of Sewing contacted me after she saw my atlas tops and asked if I would like to try out her new pattern, which is a low waist crossback tank. And I thought, perfect, what a great opportunity to try something else with my scraps. So this pattern was gifted to me, and I had no obligation to share it, but I absolutely loved it, so of course I couldn't resist sharing it with you on this vlog. So here it is. Now, I've never sewn a zero waist pattern before. I've always really wanted to, so this was really, really exciting to me to get to try one out. It's cut basically out of a rectangle of fabric, and here where you cut down for the straps at the back, that little sort of piece of fabric gets turned into, very cleverly, these straps. It was wonderful. I had almost exactly the right amount of fabric. I had a little bit left over from the width of the fabric, but the 60 centimeters was perfect to get the height of this pattern out. So it is fully lined, it's doubled over, so completely lined front and back, and the straps, I'll be honest, I was a bit skeptical. I was thinking this whole thing is going to flap open. It's never going to sit quite right on me. I just wasn't sure how it was going to work out. But it does. It is an amazing pattern. The straps, the way they're placed, where they sit, it stays closed and it sits beautifully on the body. So I'm so pleased with this one. I made a size E, which was a bust of 36 inches, a waist of 29.92 inches, and hips of 39.37 inches, so almost perfect for my measurements. Now the only thing that I would say is, like I find in a lot of patterns, there's a bit more ease over the bust. It gapes slightly under the arms, and I do have that problem quite frequently. So I think next time I make this, I will size down to the D just to see if I can get a slightly closer fit around the bust. Because of the crossover again, there is a bit of movement in the pattern when you wear it, so I think as long as I can get it to fit across the bust, it will be fine across the waist and hips. But another one that I am loving wearing this summer, and the length was really good, I must say. It fits just below, again, my belly button, so it sits perfectly over high-waisted skirts and cut-off jean shorts, so that's really good fun. And it was just so nice to sew a zero-waist pattern, to know that I wasn't going to have too many scraps left over from my remnant, and yeah, there was something just so satisfying about making this pattern, and I love wearing it, so it's a win-win. Now I'm trying to whiz through these patterns because otherwise you'll be here for an awfully long time, because like I say, I think I made more in July than I realized. So what I'll do is I'll link all of these patterns in the description box below, and if you have any questions about them, do just pop me a comment in the comments box and I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have about these patterns and how I found making them. Now the next top I made, it was a really top heavy month, but the next top I made is this beautiful new pattern from Forget Me Not Patterns. Now she had a competition on Instagram to name the pattern, and I suggested the Sylvie top because I just think Sylvie's such a pretty name, and I thought this was just such a pretty pattern that it suited the name Sylvie, so I popped that on the Instagram post and it got chosen as the name of the pattern. And so as a thank you for helping to choose the name, I was gifted this pattern, but again, I was under no obligation to sew it up. But of course I couldn't resist because I love Forget Me Not patterns. Now what I decided to do with this one is have a bit of fun. It's got this beautiful V here on the front and a lovely line here at the back with this sort of contrast yoke. Now there is also a cowl neck version, and you can make it with these flutter sleeves, or you can make it as more of a tank top without the flutter sleeves. I really like these flutter sleeves, so I decided to give them a go. Now I bought this gorgeous bamboo jersey from Guthrie Ghani. I have another black t-shirt in bamboo jersey that I wear all the time, and I could just do with another one in my wardrobe. And when I saw the Sylvie pattern, I thought I can't resist trying to make this yoke in a really nice contrast fabric, and I thought it would be really fun to try and sew with a stretch lace. So I found this stretch lace at Minerva. What I find that I like to do when I sew with lace is to put some paper underneath it. Now you can buy some paper that's made for this purpose for helping to sew with fine fabric, so I've actually got some of that in my stash, and I just used that when I was sewing the lace onto the stretch fabric, just to pop under the lace to give it a bit of support to make sure the machine didn't eat it. And I'm very glad to tell you it didn't. In fact, sewing with it was the real joy, and I'm sure partly it was because of using that paper to help with that lace. So I chose to just make the yoke out of that stretch lace and to make the sleeves and the neckband out of the bamboo jersey, and I love the way that the flutter sleeves hang in this bamboo jersey. In terms of sizing, I've made the Forget Me Not Patterns Iris tee before. My measurements place me into a size 36 in their measurement chart, and their finished measurements don't have a lot of negative ease in t-shirts. It fits beautifully over the bust, and then it's a bit looser over the waist and the hip. But I decided I wanted this to be a little bit more fitted, just so that I could wear it perhaps as a going out top, as well as perhaps over jeans. So I did size down for this one. Now that means I sewed the size 34, which is for a 34-inch bust, and then the waist and hip measurements are a little smaller than my own, but actually it fits perfectly. It's definitely not too tight or too clingy, but it's definitely a bit more form-fitting than the size 36 that I had made previously. So I'm really, really glad that I decided to size down. I don't think it looks too tight on. I do really like the look of it. Now I have styled this with a gorgeous black skirt and some bright pink heels. So if we can find a babysitter and I get to go out for a date with my husband over the summer, that's what I'll be wearing, because I think it looks really, really cute with that skirt. But I also styled it with some jeans, and so in the autumn when things cool down a little bit and jeans become an option again, I would love to wear this t-shirt with some jeans, perhaps for a coffee out with some friends. I think that would be really cute with jeans as well in the autumn. So that's the Forget Me Not Sylvie top. It's such a lovely pattern. The instructions were fantastic. I do think Forget Me Not and patterns do the most fantastic instructions. They are very, very clear. they hold your hand, and this was a really, really quick sew. If I hadn't been trying to work with the stretch lace and go really, really slowly, it would have come together in an afternoon. So it's nice to have one of those quick t-shirt patterns that you know you can sew up if you need to quickly. I have also bought some white bamboo jersey, and I think I'll be making another one of these in the white bamboo jersey, but probably just with the white bamboo for the yoke, because I really do like these flutter sleeves. I think they're really, really pretty, especially in a soft bamboo jersey. Okay, so this month was not free of dress dramas. I've had more dress dramas this month than I care to think about. I had my dress that I made for the new craft house party. That was the McCalls 6121. That is this one here, which I shared in my last video because I ran out of fabric. I've never run out of fabric before, and I'm sure I ordered enough, but there you go. That story can be found in my previous blog. But the fabric arrived just in time. Like, it arrived Friday afternoon, so I was frantically sewing on Saturday morning, pinning on the ruffles whilst my son had his piano lesson, trying to get this finished in time to go out that afternoon for the new craft house party. But I'm so pleased I did. So all dramas aside, I'm so glad this came together, and it looked super pretty with this flower crown. I love how many of you commented on this in my last video. It was so fun to chat with you about this dress. So many of you had worn Laura Ashley dresses or made Laura Ashley dresses very similar to this, or your parents had made Laura Ashley dresses growing up, which was just so fun to read about. So anyway, anecdotes aside, that dress came with a fair amount of drama, but it is done now, and I absolutely loved swishing about in that at the new craft house party. It was lots and lots of fun meeting lots of other lovely sewists who were so friendly and lovely to chat to, and I just had such a lovely evening, and I'm so relieved that I got this finished in time because it was perfect for the peace and love 70s hippie theme of the party. So there was that drama, but then there was another one. So for my Make 9 this year, I put on the Arc Ariana dress, which is what I'm wearing today, in case you were wondering. I've not sewn with Arc patterns before. I've heard a lot about them in terms of perhaps the instructions not being the best, which I would agree with, but I really loved this dress when I saw it, and I thought I'd still love to give it a go. I've not sewn with those patterns before, so why not try them for myself? So when I looked at the Arc measurement chart, I fell almost exactly into a size 10. That's a bust of 36.2 inches, a waist of 29.5 inches, and hips of 38.6 inches. So now the hips are definitely smaller than my measurements, but because the sundress is fitted to the waist and then it flares out for the skirt, I didn't really worry too much about the hip measurements. So I decided to cut this out in a size 10. The finished garment measurement said the bust was 36.25 inches and the waist was 31.5 inches. So I knew I'd have a little bit of ease at the waist, which is perfect, but not too much across the bust, which again sounded perfect. However, I made it in this beautiful dead stock cotton from Sew Me Sunshine, and I'm really sad about the fit of it. It's fine. I will wear it. Us sewists, we're always super critical of our own sewing. There is just, I don't know if you can see, a little bit of ease around here, a bit of gaping under the arms. So I could probably take out a good ½ an inch on each side just to make that fit better. And I often have this problem. I just need to do a small bust adjustment. There's just too much fabric up here. Now, I don't think it matters too much. If I pull it down a little bit more, it almost looks fine. It's only me that sort of knows that there's some gaping there. And perhaps I just need to sort out some undergarments that might help with that situation. And then on the back, it's got this lovely shirred panel, which I expected to sort of stretch out a bit, but actually it doesn't stretch at all. And that's because I just think I made a size too big. You can see here at the waist, there's a good almost 2 inches actually I'm pinching out on each side here, which is just a bit of a shame. So it's almost like it's a size too big, but then the measurements for this size were perfect. Disappointments aside, I will still wear this. It's a lovely dress. I am very, very grateful to Andrea from Beyond the Pink Door and to Minerva Craft who have a sew-along video on their YouTube channel, because without those two videos, I honestly don't think I would have been able to make this dress. Now, I'm not an inexperienced sewist. I have made many, many patterns, and I thought the instructions for this were pretty basic, to the point that at some points in the process, I wasn't exactly sure what I ought to be doing. So it's such a shame because Arc have some gorgeous patterns, but I'm not going to be in a rush to sew them up again because I just found the instructions to be really disappointing. It doesn't take a lot to put some good instructions together and just add that little bit more detail, which would make it to be so much more of an enjoyable sew. But I'm very, very grateful, as I said, to Minerva and to Andrea for their sew-alongs, because without them, I wouldn't be wearing this dress right now. Now, Andrea in her video suggested, rather than buttons, to finish it off with poppers, and I thought that was genius, especially for a sundress. I can pop it on over a bikini at the beach and just pop it off and jump in the water, so excellent, I love it. So I did use some poppers that I had in my stash for this dress, which was just as well because it uses about 15 buttons, and I did not have 15 buttons in my stash that matched. So, poppers, brilliant. So I felt quite frustrated, and I'm one of those sewers that just likes to get things right, and I find it very frustrating when you've done the checks, you checked the measurements, you've cut it out carefully, you've done the right seam allowances, and it doesn't fit. Now, I probably should have made a toile. Yes, I should have, but I just don't have time. I have 3 small children, it's summer holidays, I just wanted to get this sewn up and on me so I could enjoy it for a lovely summer's day out. And I still will, but yes, didn't toile it. Anyway, I decided I was going to make another version, and so here she is again, featuring in my video. I'll draw her forward, come on darling. So I made another version. When I bought the gingham remnant from Sew Me Sunshine, they also had this remnant of the beautiful Meadow Viscose Twill, which is part of the Fabric Godmother collection. Now this was a remnant of about 0.4 of a metre, so really, really small remnant, but I did manage to cut out both the lining and the main fabric for the Ariana sundress top. Can I make you any higher? Oh look, there she is. I've made her higher. Oh, she's too high now. Come down a bit, doll. Right, I've made her a bit higher so you can see. I managed to get the front and the back with this beautiful shirred panel out of 0.4 of a metre, which is great to know. However, you'll see from here, this is without it being hemmed and finished, that on me it would probably sit up here at my natural waist, which is perfect, but I tried it on as it was, pinning it down the front with some high-waisted jeans, and it's just a bit short for me. So I have found at Fabric Godmother some more of this fabric, thankfully, and I've ordered enough to make the skirt. So I will make the Ariana sundress again. So you can see on the mannequin, it fits perfectly. There's no gaping here under the arms. It sits really nice and flat across the bust here, and the bust fits nicely, which is great. And the shirred panel is doing a bit more of the work to make sure that it's a nice fit under the arms and over the bust. Now, I'm not a size 8, I have never been a size 8, but it just shows sometimes toiling is super important and I needed to size down. So it's good to know that, but if I make style-like patterns in the future, I will probably think very carefully about making a toile first and potentially size down, because this is definitely a better fit than this one in terms of just sitting on my body the way that I would like it to. So great to know that it does still fit. Probably shouldn't have stayed up as late as I did sewing another version of this, but it was just bugging me and I wanted to get it right. So thankfully it does fit, and I'm really looking forward to finishing this version off and having another little sundress to add to my wardrobe. Okay, so the very last thing I'm going to share, I appreciate this is a very long video, so thank you so much if you stuck with me for this long, but this is the best thing I think I've made in July. Now, I actually made this last month, but it didn't get released on the Sew Me Sunshine blog until this month. So this was a make. I was gifted the fabric by Sew Me Sunshine in return for writing a blog, and then they did give me very kindly a fabric voucher with which to buy more fabric, which is fantastic. So for all of the details about this dress, do pop over to the Sew Me Sunshine blog and I'll link that below. But this is my Closet Core Pauline dress and I love it. I love the fabric, I love the design of the bodice. I've always loved the design of this bodice, but what put me off making it for so long was that I just wasn't sure about this fitted portion of the skirt. So what I decided to do was to simply make the bodice bit, which is what I loved about the pattern, and then add a gathered skirt with a ruffle, which I also love. And I think it works really, really well. Now the bodice looks like it's slightly curved, and it does have perhaps a slight curve to it, so when I added the gathered skirt, it was fine. I just checked the length at the end, and once I'd added the ruffle, it actually came out just fine in terms of being even and straight across the bottom. I love the back. It's finished with an invisible zip. There's facing on the inside, and then there's this little bow across the top. Now the good thing is, when you undo the zip, you can pull this bit over your head, so you don't need to worry about trying to tie up a bow behind your head, because with this square neck there's plenty of room to put that bit over your head and then just do up the zip once it's on. So that's good, because I was a bit worried about trying to get that tied behind my back. I do think Closet Core have brilliant measurements for their patterns. They've had both the high bust measurement and the full bust measurement, which was about 34 inches and 36 inches, which is exactly my measurements. And then the waist was 29.5 inches. Now that's fine for me, so I did decide to go with a size 10 for the bodice. Since the seam allowances are 5/8 of an inch that you're working with, I thought if I need to, I can let out those seam allowances a little bit to give me that extra ½ an inch if I needed it, but actually it's fine. The fit across the waist here is perfect. It sits really nicely here. The only thing I might do again next time, the same as this top, is to do a slight small bust adjustment, so only about ½ an inch, if that, just to keep it a little bit more flat across the front here, but it's fine. Now what I did decide to do is I made the sleeves slightly shorter and I made them puffed. There is a free add-on for the Pauline pattern where they give you a pattern for the puffed sleeve, but I just simply shortened the sleeve that was already in the pattern so that it would sit just here on me, so just above my elbow, and I love it. I made this dress for the blog, but knowing that it's our 12th wedding anniversary this month, I decided to make it so that I could wear it on our anniversary dinner out, and I did just that. And it was really lovely to wear a special dress for our anniversary dinner, having not been able to really celebrate it for the last couple of years. So special dress for a special occasion. But actually I think even in the autumn or the winter, if I have a special occasion to go to, I could definitely layer this up over tights with a nice like red cardigan, or perhaps with my heather blazer even, and dress that up in the autumn and the winter if we've got any events to go to. So I'm hoping I'll get quite a lot of wear out of that dress. Thank you so much for watching and following along with my sewing journey every week if you're a subscriber. If you're not a subscriber, do click that subscribe button and hit the notification bell, and then you'll be made aware of when I publish future vlogs. I'm really looking forward to continuing to share more videos with you about my makes and my sewing journey here on YouTube. If you want to see more photos of what I've been sewing and of things that I'm wearing on a daily basis, do pop over and follow me on Instagram as well. I'm Amelia over there as well. So I'm going to pop off now and go and spend the afternoon with my kiddos having some fun in the garden. I hope you're having a lovely week wherever you are, and that you have some wonderful time this week to do some sewing. Stay happy, stay well, and I look forward to chatting with you in the next one. Goodbye!